Hey, welcome to the Overshare Pamphlet. My name is Rob, and I'm the host of this one-man show coming to you every Monday, 6 a.m. UK time. And I'm here to discuss, of course, as usual, pop culture moments, because that's what it is. That's what the podcast is about, and I always forget to, remind y'all what it is. So here's a reminder of what it is. But today, I wanted to, share my sort of, short review, I guess, of the movie, called this very fun and unexpected movie called Thunderbolts by Studios. Yeah, Marvel Studios. Yeah, Disney Marvel Studios. Yeah. Now, here, I guess the bigger question here at play is always the same, I guess, as the previous Marvel movies have come out ever since Endgame, and the question is Marvel back? Is Marvel back to its heydays? And I am still sort of finding myself going to watch every single one of these movies, even despite the social media rage or whatever. But here things are different. While the previous one that was released not too long ago, Captain America 4, was basically criticized to the bone by both critics and fans, this one, Thunderbolts, seems to be receiving a lot of praise, both by the critics but also by the fans themselves. So I am sold. I think I wasn't really interested in the movie when it first was announced, because I was like, I don't really care much about most of the cast. But then the more information came out about the movie, the more teasers I saw, the more I was like, oh, this seems interesting. So I cannot wait to share my thoughts with you. But first, as usual, songs of the week, and I have a big one also to discuss today, because this song in this list is causing a lot of controversy online. So I will get to that. But first off, we have "You" by Coco Jones, and this is a full R&B song in the likes of Japanese denim, maybe, or that solid ballady situation. So, damn, what was that? But yeah. So that was the first encounter that I had with Coco Jones in a while, and I mean, I am so pleasantly surprised. She is the album. I need to listen to the full album, but I am quite interested in seeing where it's gonna go. Just because, I think I've also listened to "Here We Go," which is also very, very good. Really, really like that one. And I'm gathering a certain energy from her, a very romantic sort of R&B album, maybe. And the album is called, I think, Why Not More. So yeah, I think I invite you guys to also check it out. I haven't checked it out myself, but already from the two stems that I've listened to in that sense, I really, really enjoyed it. But "You" is very catchy. Really, really like it. It's very much a lovey-dovey song, but very, very soulful and very, very R&B. And just give it a go if you like that sort of romantic R&B type of track, slower on the beat necessarily. You might really enjoy this. And talking about slower on the beat, I also have "I Love You So Much It Hurts" by Kali Uchis, which is shortened. The title is ILYSMIH, because she wants to be different. And I respect it, I guess. But the song is incredible. It's the second single from her upcoming album called "Sincerely," I think. And I really love "Sunshine and Rain," the first one. And this is no less, no short of great. This song is so immersive and so delicate. I don't know. It's just incredible. And this is, I would say it's more slow tempo, stringy, type of ballad, maybe it's a ballad. Kali Uchis in my mind is R&B, I think, but it's an interesting corner, I guess, because it's like more like, I don't know how to describe it, like a bit more like less mainstream R&B, maybe. I don't know. It's very interesting, but I enjoyed it so much. I mean, the topic is self-explanatory from the title. Like, I love you so much it hurts. You know what it is. But I think just like the production and her vocals, and like I think there's some sort of filter that makes her vocals feel kind of muffled. Just lovely, lovely song. And again, it's a very immersive song. I think it's not a song that you can listen to whenever you like, maybe, because it's like very moody. But if you want a full experience and you want to like be transported to another world, that's the song. That's the song. It's very like, it's very vibey, very like like if you like strings also in R&B songs, this is it. And I'm very excited for the full album, for the full project coming out. So again, I'm very, very impressed by the two singles. It's giving me definitely like a very consistent and coherent type of album. So yeah. Now let's talk about the controversial song. This, I think it came out on Wednesday, which is a very interesting date for a song to come out. But this song is called "Gnarly" by KATSEYE, and when I tell you, I was so bloody confused when I listened to the song. I'm not kidding. Like, this was such a weird experience that I haven't had in a while. And immediately, as soon as I finished watching the video and like listening to the song for the first time, I immediately thought of the same experience I had with Dala Dala by KATSEYE when it first came out. Now, this is for the K-pop people who know about what I'm talking. But I remember when Dala Dala came out back in, when was it? 2017, 16, I don't know. I remember being shell shocked because I think what really took me aback from the song was the structure and like how on a first few listens it felt very, very messy, very, very weird, and very incoherent in terms of structure and sounds and like the clash of sounds and everything. And I've had a very similar experience with this one. Not to say that they're like similar songs necessarily in vibe, because there's no like playfulness to this one. Like Dala Dala was like teen crush. Like it went from very serious girl crush to the chorus being very lighthearted and like fun and girly. But this is more hard hitting, violent. Like this is violent. This song sounds violent as hell, and not simply in terms of like, you know, the production and the beat itself. Like it's very hyperpop, very Aisha erotica, like pronunciation, I guess, as well, like in terms of the vocals. But I think also, yeah, again, like the lyrics are so dumb and so like stupid, and like even the delivery is like so non-melodic that I'm like, what the fuck did I listen to? Now, this was me on the first listen. I was like so weirded out, but I have to say, the production itself, like some parts of the production and like the video as well, the video is incredible. Both of these elements kept me on like, kept me interested, I guess, and like made me want to like listen to the song and watch the video again, and so I did. And after a few listens, little did I know that I was actually hooked on the song. Now, hear me out. I'm here to defend this track because I understand the point of it. I think you guys need to like do it not as a serious like. It is a serious song. Like it is a song that has been released on streaming, so it is supposed to be consumed. But the way they approached it, it was not from a let me make a TikTok sound or like you know, like a traditional pop song. And from that standpoint alone, I respect the song so much because again, I'm reminded of Dala Dala and how we pushed my understanding of what a strong song structure could be, and how it could be stretched and how it could be changed. And this is doing the same to me. Like there seems to be no chorus, but then there is a chorus. But I think the intro to the verse to the chorus, like the switch up between the three of them, the three parts, are so jarring, and there's no bridge, there is no outro. It's just verse, chorus, verse, chorus, and it's just weird. It's just a weird experience. I think the first time you listen to it, you're just like, what the fuck did I just listen to? This is so weird, this is so bad. But I think that's entirely the point of the song. I think so. Adding on to that, the experimental nature of this, I think the weird element in terms of like the very quote unquote bad lyrics, cringy lyrics, and also the jarringness of it all is also, in my opinion, I see it more like also as a marketing strategy, which also makes me appreciate the vision and the statement even more, because the song is about hype. Basically, it's about things that are like trendy, and they go from like, they list basically all things that are gnarly as in like cunt. They're trying to make gnarly work. I don't know if it's gonna work in terms of like as a term, but they want to make gnarly be the next big word. And they say, chicken, fried chicken, boba tea, Teslas, all these things are gnarly, are like, the beat is gnarly, the song is gnarly, so they're like sort of talking about like consumerism, I think, and like hype trends and all that stuff, while also sort of chasing trends, if that makes any sense. It's so interesting. And they've also chased trends before with touch and everything. So I think this is such a interesting switch up. It is like completely different from what they've done before. And I think the song is so controversial and so weird and so cringy. It gets to a point where it goes into like geniusness, in my opinion. Like, it's so fucking weird that it becomes genius. And it's a perfect marketing strategy, because I think everyone is talking about it, regardless of whether people like me appreciate it for what it is. And I've listened to hyperpop for quite a bit now and see the references, like with Aisha Radhika's like type of enunciation and delivery, to even the point of the music video being very camp. So yeah, it got to that point where it's like genius. But even people who hate it are gonna give the song attention, basically. And so I think it's, in any sort of way, creating a conversation around the group. And I find it very interesting that they chose to spend their quote unquote capital over this, because this is not to say like they like were not famous, but I think they managed to like get some sort of notoriety throughout the release of their two singles. Debut was okay, I think, in terms of reception. I like the song now, I think, but I didn't really care for it and didn't really stick out. And then they did Touch, which felt a lot like a New Jeans copy, or like, not necessarily New Jeans, but like the trend in K-pop that is going on with garage sound. Notice like that. One of my friends who listens to my episode, and like I see her every single time, she's gonna know why he said it like that. But yeah, shout out to you, Clara. But basically, what I'm saying is, now this, like, they sort of like built some form of notoriety. I think there was just a lot of potential, and a lot of people were like just sort of intrigued, but they didn't really capture the attention of everyone in that sense. People know them as the K-pop, non-K-pop group with no K-pop members except of like one member, but everyone else is like based in LA, and they're like from different cultural backgrounds and everything. So but I think they had like this minimum interest in them, like this people were like on the lookout, I guess, and I chose to use this as a major wow factor moment. Like, they chose to go for the like, how is it called, shit talking, I guess, like hate watching and all that stuff. But so yeah, they went for like a very drastic and violent, I guess, approach here, and I really respect it. And now we'll see if it pays off or not, but I think in its conception it's actually very genius, and I definitely see people talking about it a lot, whether it's in good terms, again, as I said, or like in very bad terms, but people are talking about it, and I think it's going to make it even more interesting for when the next song comes out. And I think the next song is going to be quite different from this, like very traditional pop, So it better be a very catchy song. That's all I'm saying. Because you have enraged people, but now you have to win them back. Now you've captured their attention in in a sort of a deceptive way, but you gotta. Yeah, I think they know what they're doing, so I'm gonna trust them. I'm gonna trust them with that. We'll see if it pans out well or not, but I think it's actually quite interesting and it's very refreshing. Again, I commend them for doing this because in a way it pushed me again to stretch my understanding. And that's why I really like hyperpop as well. It's it doesn't conform to the usual standard rules for pop songs, and really plays with the structure, the delivery, and what is catchy and what is not catchy, and how jarring it is. And this was so out there, both in terms of cringy lyrics and everything else, but also the melodies and everything, and the words and everything, that it really made me feel this is so different. And why are you guys scared of different? Just give it a go. I mean, I understand if it's not your thing, but I think it's worth checking it out just to have a full bucket of ice cold water being thrown at you, basically, just to feel refreshed. But yeah, so you can find these songs in my playlist of the month, and I just started a new one for the month of May, so check it out. There's going to be some good stuff coming on this month's playlist, I think, because there's plenty of new releases coming up as well. So yeah, let's get into the main course, the main meal of this episode, which is the Thunderbolts movie. Now, this is not going to be a spoiler-free review because this is the movie that's come out. I went on the premiere in London and I watched it in Dolby in the Odeon in Leicester Square. It was so nice. That theatre is just gorgeous. I really recommend going if you haven't been. If you're in London, of course, just go and have a full Dolby experience there because it's so worth it. The seatings are very comfortable. The theatre looks incredible. It just is a nice experience as well. It made me feel like I was sitting down to watch something very important, which it was. It was a very cinematic experience, I would say. So definitely try and watch this movie, at least for the first time, on a premium screen, whether it's IMAX or it's Dolby or is a 3D experience or whatever it is. Just go for the big full thing, the full effect. So you get to at least appreciate it for the first time as it was intended. Now, what is this movie about? I'm going to go first for the plot, and then I'm going to go second for what I think was quite interesting about this movie and why it sticks out and why it's receiving, I think, a lot of praise and a lot of acclaim, despite the Marvel hate train and the Marvel dry face, basically, the drought. But it seems that, as a overall thought, it seems that we are actually getting back to some quality products here, and I am so excited for it. And I hope this is just a sign for even better movies coming up. And I'm very excited for Fantastic Four. But first of all, what is this movie about? So, if you don't know anything about the MCU, I think you don't necessarily have to have watched the previous movies. But the only thing you need to know is that all the characters involved in this movie are, in some shape or form, anti-heroes, or they act in a sort of a gray space, in a gray area, because they're not entirely good guys, superheroes. They're actually all, in some shape or form, misfits and mercenaries, and they're quite, and I think in turn this makes them quite interesting to look at because they're not that perfect. They're not perfect. They're not the perfect superhero that you would imagine. And this makes it more relatable in turn, I think, and more nuanced in what a superhero can be, and more realistic as well. I think it's a more grounded experience here. You're not looking at, Captain America or Superman or any of these sort of superheroes in action. They're not perfect heroes only motivated by pure goodness and morality and basic superhero ideals, protecting people and all that stuff. I think here there are some forms of self-motivation and also some form of I think the way they want to be heroes is not simply to make a difference, but it's also to evaluate themselves and like find a reason to be what they are, and like to justify their own place in the world, and to be loved for once and be appreciated for what they're capable of. So it's quite interesting. It's a quite interesting and fresh take on the superhero shtick, I think, because most of them, like whenever you're introduced to a hero, you're like, oh, what is their? I think all of their purpose is always the same, to like protect humanity and be the person who makes a change and all that stuff. But here, I think it's more like they want to be heroes because they want to redeem themselves from their past actions, and they want to be loved by people instead of being, acting in the shadows and doing, frankly, illegal things. So, yeah, it's sort of like a refreshing take on a superhero movie. Now, all the members of this team are all coming from sort of different angles from the MCU, I guess, but you don't really need to know about specifically where they come from, because I think that the movie itself does a pretty good enough job at explaining their dark past or whatever. There are some like flashbacks, and there are some like reflections on how they view themselves and all that stuff. And it's not, the flashbacks are not done in like a typical fashion of just doing a normal recounting of a story, but it's done effectively through a new character that's being introduced here, who is Bob, aka Sentry, aka the Void. But I'll get to him in a second. But basically, all of these people, what they have in common at least is that they all were working at a certain point, or are working as well during the movie, for Valentina de Fontaine, which is who basically was a benefactor. She's a congresswoman who, at the point in this movie, she is being impeached for alleged, I guess like criminal activities under a corporation. Her corporation's name is Oxcorp. And basically, under that corporation, under her own umbrella, basically, she is, as we also have known from previous movies and even this movie, she's been doing a lot of like illegal things, and she's trying to. Her main objective, I guess, with Oxcorp was to basically find this superhero, to like produce this superhero in a lab that would basically only listen to her and like be her new weapon to use, and to become impeachable. Basically, that's her whole point. Like, is to become, because the Avengers are gone. The Avengers are gone after Endgame, so there's like this empty vacuum that she is jumping on the occasion to like fill with her own weapons, right, and to control, have a say on the world, and like gain power. Basically, that's her whole motivation, and like motivation over how she wants to, rule the world, basically, and gain power. So basically, it's her being impeached by the Congress, and since they're not letting the impeachment go, her only solution is to like destroy all the evidence to not be impeached. And at this point in the story, she thinks that her main goal to build this weapon, this superhero in a lab, didn't work out. Like, all of her tests have gone, to the poop hole, and like nothing else, they're going to the shitter, and like nothing is working. So, in the meantime, she's facing like this, charges, and like she thinks the best way to like get out of this is to simply wipe out all the evidence. Now, among the many, among the evidence, I guess we could say, is also all of these characters who have all worked with her. So she wants to also get rid of them because they've all done some illegal activities for her own bidding, basically. So, very cleverly, what she does is that she gives an assignment to each one of these people, who are all going to this like vault that she has, and their target is one, like they all have each other as targets, but they don't know about it. Basically, they all go there to kill each other. They don't know about that they were all engaged by Valentina by Val to do this. So all of them go into this like vault, and they try to kill each other. And then while they're fighting each other, they basically realize that they actually have been sent in there by Val to be disposed of and be discarded. Now, here we have Ghost, basically, who has some sort of like, she can make her body become invisible and like intangible, basically. She becomes intangible, yeah. So she can like go through walls and all that stuff. Very cool. Then you have the U.S. agent, which is like the anti-Captain America. He was Captain America for a very brief second, and he then killed a civilian or something. Like, it was wild. But yeah, crazy shit. But yeah, he's also sent here to kill one of them. And there's also Yelena Belova, which is the original Black Widow's sister, basically. Like, Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow. So, but then Scarlett Johansson has died in this. Not her, but her character. And Natasha Romanoff has died in this like timeline in the MCU, so she's left completely alone. And each of them have very, and then there's also Taskmaster, who's, spoiler, gets killed in the first 2 seconds of the movie, but whatever. And then they all find themselves in this vault trying to kill each other, and they're all in pretty dark places. They've all done very bad things, and they're all regret doing all these things, and they live in this like current state of like constant state of void. They're like, I don't know, like very depressed, very, in a very dark mood, and they're all trying to find meaning in their lives, and they cannot shake this, they cannot shake off their past and like move on. And this is what like also brings them together, I think, in the end, because like when they start finding each other and they find out they're being all targeted by Val, and they want to be just like killed off, they decide instead to like join forces and become a team, to stop Val and to like bring her to justice. Now, while they're fighting and all that stuff in the vault, they accidentally awaken. I'm sorry. They awaken Bob. Bob is this one of the test subjects from this like project that Val was working on, as I said, the Sentry project, to build this like the strongest Avenger ever, the strongest hero ever, but that would be under her control. And so they find this guy Bob, who like apparently seems like, I know, on a first basis seems like a very normal guy, quite weird and quite awkward. But little do they know that that is the only surviving test subject. Now, he's very unstable because he has a lot of like also mental health issues, and that's like he has some sort of like a split personality disorder, which is very, very interesting the way he plays out in this movie, because like he is like very incredibly strong, like so strong, like you wonder at some point during the movie, like, how can anyone stop this guy? Because he's like literally almost invincible, I would say. He describes himself also at a certain point in the movie as a god, which is like truth. It is. So while they try to kill each other, basically they find this guy, and then they manage to escape. And Val is informed that there is a surviving test subject now, and it's with them. So her whole point switches, and instead of like trying to like, well, she's still trying to kill the now formed Thunderbolts, because there's still evidence for impeachment. But she also wants to gain control over Centurion, aka Bob. And so as soon as they escape from this vault, they get separated. Val manages to get a hold of Bob, and like she brings him to the ex-Avengers Tower, and she sort of like starts brainwashing him into like being her own subject. Now, Val has no powers whatsoever. She's a normal human being. So the audacity and like the, I guess courage as well in like facing this almighty anti-hero is quite interesting. And you gotta give it to her, I guess. But she has like a plan B. She has like a detonator in her hand, basically installed like a chip in his brain that goes off and kills him instantly, basically, if they press that button. So she has that over him, but he doesn't know. So she has like, if anything goes awry, like she can always like, if anything goes wrong, she can always press the button and kill him. But basically she manages to like brainwash him. She rebrands him. It's very interesting to see also that like she has full projects on how to like properly brand him, like the costumes, the hair, even down to the hair, like bleaching his hair, making him a blondie, sort of like making him look like a Superman type of hero. However, as I said, he's not a stable person. He's a very unstable person who's like plagued by trauma, and it's very, very relatable to see as well. I think what really shines through this movie is the emotional tone of this. Like, it's a very emotional story about how people face trauma, and like how sometimes the only way to, you know, face your void is not to push it down, but to rely on other people and to have other people tell you how, like, that you are worthy, and like to believe what people see in you, and to start relying on other people as well. So basically, while you're in, like, you know, he still thinks that the other guys in Thunderbolts are also quite, you know, similar to him, and he sort of forms a very short, like, even though it's like a short form bond, but he still is very much attached to them in a way. And so when the Thunderbolts get to the X-Avengers Tower and try to like stop him and stop Val, he first like puts up a fight, of course, and all that stuff, but he doesn't want to kill them. Like, that's the whole point. And then that's when he realizes that he doesn't have to listen to Val, because Val keeps on telling him basically that he has to kill him because she's saying so. And he's like, well, why should I listen to you? I'm almighty. I'm like, literally, I could kill you in 2 seconds. And so she's like, oh shit, well, I guess that plan went to the pooper again. So yeah, as soon as he defeats all the Thunderbolts and doesn't kill him, of course, but he goes for her and she kills him with that switch. Now, she doesn't actually kill him because his split personality takes over, and it's the Void. Now, Sentry has a lot of interesting powers, like very much like Superman. He has more like a telekinesis, and like he can make things melt with his eyesight, basically, or whatever. I don't know. He can, like, you know, manipulate temperatures around him. He can fly. He's very fast and all that stuff. Like, yeah, he's almighty. Nothing can like specifically hurt him. It's like he has this like magnetic field around him as well that really protects him or whatever. Very interesting powers. I really recommend watching it. So that's when Bob is like still operating, I guess, like that's Sentry. But when the other personality takes over, which is the Void, and it's like the very, you know, dark reiteration of Bob and Sentry, he becomes like this figure like engulfed in shadows, and his whole point is to swallow everyone in his shadow and bring them all to the Void, and bring forward their, like, you know, their void natures, basically, right? To put them in this like very depressive state, and like bring them into his own like this, like, it literally engulfs in shadows the entire city of New York, basically. That's like how visually it's also done. He wipes people out and brings them into the Void, and the way it's done is so visually striking. I think the director said like he took inspiration from nuclear bombs victims in that sense. Like, I think they found the imprints of their shadows on when the nuclear bombs exploded. Like, they found their remnant, like, you know, the imprints of their shadows on the ground in some way. I don't know how that happened, but yeah, that was their inspiration, and it's so visually striking, and it's so cool. And yeah, so basically, this is where, like, I guess the Thunderbolts really shines. The whole point of like trying to save him is to make him realize that he actually doesn't have to be self-destructive, and he doesn't have to like take everyone into his own sadness, but he can actually rely on other people and see other people as his own strength. And there's other people like him that are going through the same thing, and the only way to go forward is to like actually be with people, and be with people that are similar to him, and like compare and contrast their, you know, their experiences, and be there for each other. And that's where Yelena, who like basically emerges as the leader of the Thunderbolts eventually, becomes the key to solving this, like, this whole situation. And so she willingly goes into the Void and tries to find him. And in the meantime, she faces her own trauma and manages to get to him. And then also her teammates manage to catch up to her, and they all basically go to Bob to save him. And they do manage to separate him from the Void and to bring him out of the Void. And so they save New York City. And it's done in such a good way. Like, you can tell this movie was like, the way it was like, I don't know, it was an idea in the director's mind. It was translated out into the movie in such a perfect way. It didn't suffer from any reshoots because there were no major reshoots as far as I know, and so you can literally feel that the movie was, you know, produced in the way it was supposed to, and like it's from its inception to its like, you know, production, it didn't change much. They didn't have to redo the movie several times. There are no like, you know, 20 copies of alternative copies of this movie like, you know, some of the previous Marvel movies. So yeah, I think you can really feel that this movie is cinematic, and it is a movie. It has a very big story, and in a way, it's like sort of like a classic movie, like about trauma and about mental health and about mental struggles, but it's paired with the superhero element, which is to me very interesting and very new for Marvel, and very very good, very very good and very well executed. And so on top of like these emotional storylines, I guess there's also a bunch of other goodies in terms of action, in terms of you know, cinematography and everything, and I really, really, really thoroughly enjoy it. And now the crazy thing is the ending of the movie, I think, most of all, which brings me back also to the Marvel formula, which is like now back and running, I think. Basically, the way it ends is with Valentina, playing them again, because by the time they're done with the Sentry thing, they all try to get her, but she, in the meantime, has called the press to give a big announcement, and they're all like so confused with like, what is it? And she manages to play them again, and she uses them to be reintroduced as the new Avengers. Basically, Thunderbolts become the new Avengers, and I think they sort of go along with it because that's again their whole motivation again is to like still be seen as the heroes, and so they use Val as well. Like Val uses them, but also they use Val to sort of legitimize their own claim to be heroes, and so they become the new Avengers by the end of the movie, which is so insane, but it works. Like it's such a good twist and such an interesting, you know, Val, you gotta give it to her, even though she's like a very manipulative person, she's actually so smart as well. So they become the new Avengers, and then there's a big post-credit scene where you see, spoiler, the Fantastic Four reaching Earth, and them, the new Avengers, like the Thunderbolts, seeing them reach the Earth. So that's so exciting. That makes me super excited about the next movie, which is the Fantastic Four. The Fantastic Four coming out in a couple of months, I think, in July. So well done, bravo, Marvel! Like that was so well directed, so well scripted, such a good movie. And yeah, I literally am so like, you know, happy to have watched this movie. Honestly, it's such a good experience. What I really liked about this movie, I think, is one, when I was watching it, I felt, I guess, very intrigued by the cinematography, because it doesn't feel like the usual Marvel movie or like the usual Russell Brothers or like Marvel stamp, like regurgitated formula over and over again. Even the way it's shot and everything, it has a very interesting quality to it. Like it's a very gray movie, if that makes any sense. Like it's not like super colorful, and it's not super, you know, gimmicky or whatever. Like it feels grounded the way it's shot, and it has incredible cinematography. It's so well shot. Even the CGI is done very very well, and it just has its own mood and its own its own character to it, and which makes me even more excited to probably watch it again. I might do it when I come back from my little trip next week. So it has this movie has its own character and its own flair and its own, you know, aesthetic, which is very interesting. I really really enjoyed the vault scene, which is like sort of like half of the movie, I think. Like them having to escape the vault and like the whole thing was so like visually striking. I think there's a lot of reds and a lot of black and a lot of like dim light and everything. It's so interesting. It's like a very muted movie, but it's not to say that it's like not visually interesting, like muted in that sense. It's actually very visually interesting for that reason. Like it's very very very, it fits very very much the mood and the message of the movie. I think it's a very somber sort of like production, which is very interesting. So I really like that aspect a lot about the movie. I did also really really like, I think Florence Pugh shines through this movie in an incredible way, like in an unprecedented way, I think as well. She, like, I think she leveled up here in her role. Like, she's so comfortable in the role, and she plays it so well, and she's so charismatic, and um, the attire that she has is like very, I want to say mask in a way, like very masculine and like very. It's not like a very. She's not like sexualized at all in this movie, which is very interesting. Like very different from other feminine, I guess, portrayals of superheroes. But she here wears like a lot of very, I would say, like armory type of gear, and she looks like a soldier. Like she's very very cool in the way she's like portrayed here, and I really really enjoyed the makeup that they did on her. She has this like light blue eyeliner or something, like almost like a turquoise or like a aquamarine sort of eyeliner, like eyeshadow as well. So stunning, so visually appealing, so cool. I liked the makeup in every like for everyone, even for Ghost. She's stunning. She looks very, 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 very pretty. And but yeah, I think Yelena Belova and aka Florence Pugh shines so brightly in this movie. She's incredible. Her line deliveries are so good. She has a very strong presence on the screen, like a very strong personality. And then it pairs really well with the humor that some of the other characters bring. I really reevaluated like US Agent as well. He seems like a very snarky personality here as well. Very different from Captain America, which he's supposed to be. Well, he was supposed to be Captain America, I guess, the replacement for him, but he's like completely the opposite. He's like very snarky, very self-motivated, but also, deep down a good guy. So I really reevaluated him here, and I'm glad they gave him a bit of a background too here to like understand where he's coming from. Really, really enjoyed it. I wish there was more of the Winter Soldier, I think, because he's in this movie, surprise, surprise, but there's not much about him. I understand why, because we already went through his trauma and everything before multiple times, so they didn't really have to do much of that, to be fair. But it would have been nice to maybe see him as a pro, because he already has been through it, to maybe see him face his own trauma and like be quite, good at it, because he already has gone through that path already. It would have been nice to see that and see him more in there. But some of his action sequences are also very, very cool. I remember being in the theater and when he like is in the desert chasing the Thunderbolts for the first time, when he grabs that wire and like destroys like the Oxcorp's task force, whatever, being sent out to kill the Thunderbolts as well. That scene was so good, and my entire theater gasped and was so gagged by the way the action sequence rolled out. And again, I want to also point out another great strength of this movie. The action sequences are, even though they're like not that many, I think they're good enough. I think for the movie, they struck a good balance between action and emotional core here, and the action sequences are so good. Like they're very physical, because they're all pretty much like most of them, apart from Sentry, are on the ground. Basically, they're like they shoot and punch and do whatever. So it's like a very very action packed movie when it comes to their action scenes, and I think that it's very physical. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, they're very physical scenes. Then they're not like overly present in the movie, which is good, I think, but they're not also underutilized. I think they're like sprinkled through in the right way, and they are done so well. So really enjoy those. I think sometimes Red Guardian feels a bit too much, because he has that very over the top acting, which is the entire point of his movie, like of his character as well. He's like very shouty and very loud and everything, but it gets one where he's like a bit repetitive. But I hope so. Yeah, I hope for the next movies like he's gonna be a bit more dialed down. But he's also a very important character here, because his speech, however, with like Yelena towards the end was so good, so good. I literally teared up for that one, and I haven't teared up for a Marvel movie in a long time. I think ever since No Way Home. And that made me tear up. And then I cried a second time in the movie when the Thunderbolts save Bob from the void, basically. Bob is such a relatable character, and I think it's that he pairs well with them. I think he shines even brighter because, like, unlike the Thunderbolts, he has completely the opposite type of, like, personality. Like, the Thunderbolts are, like, a very strong personalities, and they're very, striking in that sense. While he's very understated and he's very shy and very awkward. Like all of them have big and loud and flashy personalities, but he has the exact opposite, and I think that's why he brings a different side to the team. Is very, 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 very good in the role. I really, really enjoyed him. So emotional, so emotive. They explained that he basically was an ex-drug addict and he was going around the world trying to find, any reason to keep being alive, basically. And then he stumbles into this project. They pay him. I think they pay him. I'm not really sure if they paid him or not, but they offer him this like treatment and everything, and he goes through with it because he has no other options in his life, and he's like on the brink of complete isolation, basically, from the rest of the world. So he's into his void, and it's because of like childhood trauma, like violence at home and everything else. So there are some very dark themes in here. So I will also maybe warn people from when they go into this movie, because there's a lot of that, but it's done in a way that is not extremely jarring and visual in that sense. Like there are definitely undertones there, and like there are some scenes that are a bit more on the violent side, but very, very, very well executed, I think. And he's such a sweetheart. Like I literally felt bad for him for the entire movie, because all he wanted was to just be understood and to like be accepted by anyone in general, despite his trauma. Like, or maybe be like for people to not necessarily define him by his trauma, which is what in the end happens, because Yelena specifically forms a very interesting bond with him, and she's the only one who can actually communicate with him one-on-one and bring him out of this void. So yeah, I really like it, and I really like how he like dynamic of the team is, because most of them are like all snarky and comedic people, but he's like on the other hand quite serious, and he brings, not serious, but he's still funny in the way he is, but he's like goofy and shy and awkward and silent and everything else. So I really, really enjoyed it. And again, I think this movie, one other strong point of the movie is that it really introduces this anti-hero. Like it's a first cornerstone, I guess, for him. Like we are introduced to the Sentry through this movie as well, and it's such a good introduction. Like I really, really liked the introduction to the Sentry here, because it's so different from the rest of the other introductions to different heroes that we've ever had in the MCU or like in general, because you're instead facing like a very vulnerable person coming to terms with like this huge gift that has been given to him and this huge power, and he doesn't know how to deal with it because he's so fragile himself. And that really made me care for him a lot. Like I really bonded with the character immediately throughout this movie, and I was like so drawn to him. Really, really relatable character. And again, this is one of the greatest introductions to a character, to a superhero that we've ever had. I think in terms of like how he comes to understand his powers, and how he comes to face his own struggles, and comes to like break down into this like larger MCU world. So very, very, very cool. I really enjoyed the movie also for this part. So yeah, I really, really liked it, and I see why people are praising it a lot, both the critics and the fans alike, because there is a bit for everything, a bit of everything for everyone, basically. So yeah, I really recommend watching it. I really recommend going, especially if you like, if for example, if you ever watched, wait, where is Homelander from again? Oh my god, I forgot the name of the TV show. But if you know what I'm talking about, like the Prime Video TV show. Oh my god, why is it escaping me right now? But Homelander, if you know Homelander from the TV show, the superhero TV show, but The Boys. Oh my god, The Boys. If you like The Boys, that kind of tone, I think you would really like this one, because it's a very grounded, realist approach to superheroes, and also the Sentry is very much reminiscing of Homelander specifically, because it's like supposed to be like an evil Superman for some of it, or like he's also a lab project, and there's also this huge chat about like branding a superhero and everything. There's also very much The Boys vibes in that sense. So if you like that, you will really enjoy this. I would say if you like a more serious tone and a more emotional tone, a la, I don't know, maybe the Black Panther movies, like in terms of that emotional connection and emotional depth to the movie, you might really enjoy this movie as well. And I think also if you like Captain America and the Winter Soldier, you might actually really like this movie as well, because there's a lot of like, you know, tag teaming and like a lot of on the ground action. So yeah, there's a lot for everyone, and I think there's also a lot for people who are fans of meaningful stories and good cinema. This is good cinema. This is good. This is a good movie that should be watched at the cinema, you know, in the theaters. So grab your tickets, go and watch it. Please, please do me this favor. Go and watch it. You won't regret it. Even if you don't know anything about the Marvel movies, like at all, I think you would still very much enjoy it for the plot of the movie. Such a good movie. So yeah. Anyways, gotta go. Gotta catch a plane. Bye.